Mel, everybody, how are ya? A lot of people are losing their minds on how the miners are doing. They cannot handle what has been going on. Even with Bitcoin itself, they cannot handle what is going on. They have thought that price is gonna just keep going up in a straight line, and hasn't really worked out quite the way that they thought it would. And even for me, I thought that it was going to consolidate for months. I didn't think it was going to consolidate necessarily all the way from like February over to September. That's a very, very long sideways downwards movement here for a very, very long time. So it has changed sentiment in such a drastic way that I'm really starting to see it in my comments actually make me feel more comfortable about holding and buying Bitcoin and Bitcoin related assets. But of course, it's always a personal decision. The current downtrend over the last 7 or 8 months or so has been very, very, very grinding and destructive to the mind. Technically speaking, there are also some things that you wonder whether or not we've seen something that's similar like this before, whether or not we're really hitting a lot of the indicators to tell us that we're at the bear market. I'm just gonna say this. I don't think so. And you can listen, you can take it or leave it. It's really completely up to you who you want to listen to. It's your decision, it's your choice, it's your money, it's your emotions. Whatever you want to do with it, feel free to do whatever you want to do with it. But I'm gonna basically kind of show you quite a few things here why people are just getting absolutely going crazy right now. First of all, Bitcoin did a couple things. One thing was that it did a very necessary thing to kind of backtest around the 48 to 49,000 level last month. That was something that is a constructive wick, if you will, because this level over here where we spent a significant amount of time during the last cycle had not really been back tested, and it got back tested. Right now, depending on the exchange that you look at, here you can see it went down all the way down to like 49,100, but there are some exchanges where it really tapped the liquidity down at like 48,000. So back testing this level over here was crucial to really have a more sustainable bull market, and I think it did absolutely just that. So because of that actually makes me feel, a lot more comfortable moving forward. And it wasn't because it was just like big giant candle and that's it. It's a big giant wick, right? And it wicked back above, and it wicked back to about, I guess the candle closed around like 59,000. So far the month of September, and there's only really been like 5 days, and it's really driving a lot of people insane that so far we have a red candle over here. Like people just couldn't handle this downtrend anymore. But I still think that there is something to be said whenever you write as support on a rising Tenkan. On the bull market, the Tenkan keep rising, right? And we still haven't really lost the Tenkan yet. Even if we lose it, like we lost it over here, but we eventually went back and reclaimed it, have a little bit more of an exhaustive top here before really plummeting down, right? We haven't really even lost this yet, and currently the Tenkan is around 56,159. And so far, price is kind of hovering around it, getting above, getting below, driving everybody crazy. But this is what a bull market is supposed to do. It's supposed to ride the Tenkan on the way up, right? Just like the last bull market, we rode the Tenkan on the way up. And just like the bull market before that, it rode the Tenkan on the way up. This cycle just seems to be a little bit slower, and it's unfortunate. Could this be the top? I would never say that is, make an absolute statement that, we've topped, or that, we're going to keep going up a lot higher. I'm never making an absolute statement like that. But just looking at what I'm looking at, it still looked like it just wanted to kind of backtest support over here. That's what it looks like. And there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt out there, even without any like negative Bitcoin news, which is kind of crazy to think about. I think everybody just got spooked because of price. Like everybody just got spooked because of price. The sentiment is absolutely horrible where we're at right now. I would say that it's almost more horrible than it was when it was like around 15 or 16,000. because you have a lot of people that end up getting trapped up here, and they're looking to exit. They're really frustrated. Have you seen something like this before, where price just kind of gone sideways, and then eventually it went up and hit a lot higher targets over time? I would argue yes. It looked very, very similar to this area over here back around 2019, after it made a pretty significant move like that 4x's, right? It just kind of had to go correct sideways. Here, there's a little bit of abnormality here because it was thrown off by a black swan event called COVID shutdowns, and this really was a big giant wick down below. But it really looked like after about 6 months of correction sideways and downwards, it really looked like it was kind of on its way to recovery. So I do think that if we didn't have COVID, there was potential that the cycle would have probably gone on for a little bit higher than it did, even though the money printing was accelerated. But I think there's also a lot more fear in terms of the market top over here. I think that currently this setup over here looked relatively similar to the setup over here. Instead of finding the cloud support over here, we end up finding the Tenkan support over here, right? So again, I'm still going to be leaning a little bit more bullish at support rather than getting scared. Even if it dips down underneath support a little bit, I'm still okay, right? There's just so huge amount of fear that it just makes it very unlikely that we're just going to go straight down. You're going to at least get some kind of relief rally if this is a bear market from where you're at right now. I happen to think that overall this is still a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low type situation, that this is still a macro bull market. They're still printing money. There's a lot of these kind of macro fears going out there right now, but I just don't really buy it. I'm sorry, I just don't really buy it. You can, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Obviously, you don't invest money based on what other people tell you, because none of these are facts. These are all opinion. I'm just here to present with you an alternative opinion, because a lot of people are thinking that Bitcoin's going to go down a lot further from here on out. It's still possible, but I'm just a little bit skeptical. All right. This is combined with the fact of a lot of other things too. Obviously, if you look at the Ichimoku, it's not working out very well. But if you look at the 20-month moving average, I think we're back testing it right now. I think we got a big giant candle that has no wick yet. This could all turn out to be just a wick underneath the 20-month moving average, which is currently around 9.18. And it may not be. It might just keep plummeting down. I don't care. It could end up back testing some of the levels down here around like 7.5. I mean, it's possible. I don't know, right? But I also was showing earlier too about this possibility where it just wanted to back test the 100 week moving average here. So I'm gonna show you in terms as to why I think that price wants to gravitate towards that level. The reason why it wants to gravitate towards that level is because it's been a very, very important resistance and support level for a very long time, right? Like here, you can see that it got rejected there, supported, rejected. And right now, it makes complete logical sense that whenever you flip something from resistance to support, you backtest the support, right? Right now, the 100-week moving average is around 8.06. So I see that there's like absolutely no volume so far with this big giant downtrend. Like there's absolutely no volume. This is absolutely alarming for bears if you're trying to short around here. Like I don't know what you're basing on besides the price that's just kept on going down, and this is a falling knife. It's getting closer to a pretty important support zone, both in terms of the 20-month moving average and the 100-week moving average. It's just, and I'm not making this up, like this is what price has ended up gravitating and using that as support and resistance levels, right? So again, just because, and I'm open to the possibility that this is a bear market, but I don't think it is, but I'm opening to it, right? Even if it's a bear market, you're at least going to get some kind of relief bounce, right? Because the sentiment is just so absolutely horrible right now. Like I cannot, you can't make this up, like the kind of stuff that I'm seeing on X. It actually makes me feel pretty good about the market. But yeah, like CleanSpark looks like it wants to maybe even touch them, even potentially wick down underneath this area over here. or you may not end up touching it, I don't know, but it looks like it's just kind of gravitating towards that area on like no volume whatsoever on the week just right after a holiday. So I'm leaning bullish actually. And as crazy as it sounds, Mara is doing the same thing. Mara is basically getting very close to the 100 week moving average, and it did the same thing over here as resistance, and it's basically flipping it from resistance to support, right? When was the last time that this happened, and then what happened afterwards? Well, when we were able to backtest the 100 week moving average, and when we found support over there, we actually ended up wicking underneath of that, by the way. When we found support, it really began a bull market. Now, do I think that's going to end up shooting up like crazy like it did over here? I do not. I just think that the cycle overall is just a lot slower. But I cannot deny the fact that this looks like a classic resistance flip support. And if you follow any kind of technical analysis, we all go by probabilities, and whenever you see something like this where it's flipping things from resistance to support, you lean more bullish. You know, like that's just what it is. Is it absolute? No. But that's how you're supposed to lean, right? 20-month moving average is still pointing up, and I think that there's also a possibility where currently the body candle right now below the 20-week moving average is going to be more of a wick, moving forward. We'll see whether or not this works out, right? But I cannot ignore the fact that the 20-month moving average is going up, is pointing up. So there are a couple of things that I'm kind of seeing that makes me pause, like, that doesn't make sense, The miners, they don't just trade on Bitcoin, they also trade on IWM. IWM is also going through, a little bit of a correction to backtest some of the horizontal zone here around 210. And right now the 20-month moving average is pointing up, and it just looks like the beginning of a bull market, And I think that previously, if you look over here on the cycle, I think even the miners that were around during this last cycle, they lagged behind IWM. Like they didn't really go like crazy until IWM really made this all-time high. And IWM is still pretty far away from this, previous all-time high, which is going to be around like 244, right? So miners are going to keep lagging behind, and it's going to be more susceptible to any kind of downward pressure, and that's the truth, right? Nobody's saying that it's not true, right? But I just want to be a little bit more skeptical in terms of how bearish the sentiment is out there when Bitcoin hasn't really done anything for the last 8 months. A couple other things to keep in mind is, even if you look at Dogecoin is looking pretty bullish actually. It was, if you're looking at the 20-month moving average, you are basically seeing a very similar pattern where it flipped from being resistance over here as negative sloping into support that's positive sloping, right, during the last cycle. Now, do I think it's going to make a parabolic move like this? No. I think the cycle overall is just slower. What has it done so far this cycle? What it flipped it from resistance back to support over here in June, made a big move up, but it was just way too far, way too fast, coming back down, back testing this as support right now. Right now we're a little bit, underneath of the 20-month moving average, but overall this trend is still looking like it wants to just kind of do a little bit of a back test before some bullish continuation after a higher high, right? And after it's forming a higher low. So I think the sentiment may not be necessarily be warranted. And also just looking at altcoins, a lot of people are also flipping out about altcoins in general. I still think that it is doing what is necessary, which is to come back and backtest the rising 20-month moving average. Right now we're kind of dipping a little bit below that, but not by much, and we're backtesting this bear market trend line, and looks like it's holding so far. We did wick a little bit below that during the last month, but a lot of things are really kind of telling me, hey, they're trying to get me to sell. The sentiment's pretty horrible, and I think it's working out for a lot of people, and they're very upset right now. Okay, I'm actually pretty comfortable where things are. And obviously, am I right all the time? No, like nobody's right all the time. If should I admit that I'm wrong for with the miners, that it's just kind of been absolutely brutal for a lot longer than I thought it would be? Yeah, I should admit to that. Like, I mean, I really thought that the sideways was going to be maybe like 4 or 5 months or something like that, and that would have been it for Mara, right? I really thought that Clean Spark was looking so nice, forming higher highs and higher lows. It could go down and form a higher low again, but does it have to all the way come down even below the rising 20-month moving average? No. Obviously, I did not really imagine that that's going to be the most likely scenario, but it ended up happening. So yeah, what should I do? Should I correct my mistake and just sell all miners and be bearish on miners? I don't think that's how it works. I think you have to reassess the situation and think about what you should do next, rather than hang up on your mistakes and just trying to criticize everybody else for being wrong. But anyway, like, none of this is live advice, none of this is financial advice. I could very well be wrong, and Clean Spark could go down to zero, Mara could go down to zero, and yeah, Bitcoin can also go down to zero. Sure. I don't find it to be very likely though. And overall, these are still looking more like a higher low than anything. So, yeah, depends on who you want to listen to. I don't know. Like, Tesla just made like a 4.5% move up today. If you look at GME is actually looking pretty great. If you're looking at GME, it has really been flipping the 20-month moving average over here to support here. And what I'm showing you here is really the 20-week moving average has also been flipping it from resistance over here all along into support. Like, how can I be that bearish on Bitcoin and related assets whenever something like GME is doing pretty decent? Like, something doesn't really add up here, right? And also, it looks like overall, if you're looking for like market sentiment, one way I like to look at it is if it's going to be a pretty decent market sentiment. Actually, I should do SPY over QQQ, and I'm going to do the monthly here. If you're looking for a sentiment in terms of what the market does, like NASDAQ should generally do pretty well. So far, you've had NASDAQ actually lagging behind the S&P 500 for the last 3 months. And a lot of people are probably saying, why am I in NASDAQ? Why don't I just get into like, equal weighted or get into SPY? Well, if by the time where you do that, the trend might be over. You have a negative sloping 20-month moving average against this SPY over QQQ ratio chart. And it just looks like QQQ wants to continue to outperform the SPY. It looks like it's playing out so far today. Rates are also dropping. A lot of people are worried about rates dropping, meaning something bad's going to happen. A lot of people look at U.S. global liquidity rising and don't think that it's that big of a deal, because you can still have recession even if the liquidity is rising. I have this thought about the whole like recession thing, about people calling for more recessions. I just have to say, like, over the last 5 years, and this is just a perspective, I can be completely wrong, and the economy can be completely crap, and we can be completely just crashing down from here. But the perspective is this. You have about 5 year span where unemployment shot up to the sky because of COVID shutdowns. You have almost a threat that there was going to be no economic activity at all because everything is going to get shut down. Next thing you know, you have this irrational money printing that has driven inflation all the way up, followed by a lot of really crazy inflation fears, followed by a world conflict between Ukraine and Russia, which I don't know no one's really talking about anymore, followed by the greatest, fastest rate hike in history by the Fed, with a lot of quantitative tightening, with a lot of liquidity being sucked out of the system, with a lot of liquidity crunch that has already happened, followed by banks failure. They had to go out on record saying they're going to bail out all banks, followed by really a big, huge deleveraging that already happened where NASDAQ dropped like 40%, right? A lot of Bitcoin also dropped like more than 80%, right? So a lot of the deleveraging has already happened. And now it's also followed by a lot of people are looking at these consumer stocks like Nike, Hershey's, and also like Celsius. There's a lot of these consumer stocks that are just plummeting down. Chipotle. All of these stocks are also saying that, hey, maybe we're going through a consumer recession right now. I think the recession has been already playing out, but nobody's been calling it a recession. And this recession plays out very differently because the order of things have just been going on just differently compared to before. I don't know if there's going to be a need for another market crash, because I don't think that market crashes happen because of what they tell you, because of like rates, because of like all these other things that they're telling you. I think market crashes happen whenever we're over leveraged, and I think we've already deleveraged, and I think that the chances of having the scare that we had in 2008 and 2000 are low. You can think about, you can talk about, yes, I'm going to need to get prepared for all scenarios. There's also going to be a scenario where the recession callers who are very, very loud right now, there's a scenario where they're completely wrong and that everybody end up FOMOing in. And by the time they FOMO in, the market could be going up a lot. There's so much cash on the sidelines right now, and rates are about to drop. Those are just my thoughts. One other thought I'm going to show you here on the chart here too is that the US dollar is hitting the lower Bollinger Band here on the monthly. It looks like it wants to go down further because it has been just looking like a little bit of a dead cat bounce, if you will. It looks like it wants to go down further. The Japanese yen have also dropped a lot, actually raised a lot higher. And it looks like if you look at USD over Japanese yen, it really looked like it's going to plummet, right? So I don't know, like there's going to be a likelihood events where there would be no alternative again besides stocks. And people are probably going to end up using Bitcoin and correlated assets as a way to leverage up. And I think that whoever's catching the falling knife of Mara could end up getting hurt even more in the short term. Whoever's catching the falling knife over here on CleanSpark could potentially get hurt a lot more. But I just don't see what other people are saying right now. I am seeing a lot of confluence in terms of that is giving me some confidence to stay in the market. Not talking about leverage and doing like these crazy leaps that's going to end up having a bunch of loss, right? I'm talking about holding shares for myself and seeing what happens. That's all I'm talking about. And I tend to be more optimistic compared to other people, so I do want to give you that warning. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm losing my own money, but I am optimistic. I'm actually optimistic because I'm very pessimistic. I don't think they're going to end up stop printing money, and I think the US dollar is going to go to crap. Yeah, I'm actually optimistic on the market because I'm pessimistic, because I don't think that there's ever going to be any fiscal responsibilities from the government. And at this point, there's not really like a great need to deleverage because we just haven't really had any insane, irrational exuberance going on right now. Anyway, I'm done talking. I'm just showing Bitcoin, CleanSpark, Mara, and sharing my thoughts. Leave it or take it. Have a good one. Bye.